have right now to introduce the first 4 speakers. The first one, I gotta tell you, every elected official we've ever worked with, you gotta tussle with, and they disappoint you. But you also know there's gotta be elected leaders you can count on. One of those elected leaders is a man who has twice been the mayor, 22 terms, the mayor of San Francisco, who is currently the lieutenant governor of California, who we are counting on as he emerges to become the next senator or governor of the state to be one of the national leaders on drug policy reform, Gavin Newsom.
That's like, it's like Tony Robbins or something. I mean, some spiritual leader or something. Well, my job is simple, and that's to formally welcome you to this wacky, wonderful place. 37 million of us call home, the great state of California, a state that at its best is a state that's always on the leading and cutting edge, a state of dreamers, of doers, of entrepreneurs, of innovators, a state that has certainly been on the front lines in reconciling the abject failure that has been 40 years, this failed war on drugs. This is a state that led the way in 1996, where other states followed suit as we advanced Proposition 215, and we saw Oregon, and we saw Washington and Alaska, and of course eventually Colorado and New Jersey recently, and others move in a similar direction. We did the same thing in 2000 with Proposition 36, where we began to reconcile diversion as an alternative, and that has saved the taxpayers over $2.5 billion. So from a fiscal perspective, not just a moral perspective, we know that's worked. This is a state, though, that has suffered from the consequences of 4 decades of failure, as this nation has suffered from the consequences of 4 decades of failure. Let me just put a framework on the challenge as it relates to this nation and this state by just framing this in the context that all of you are familiar with, and that is in 1980, not that many years ago, we had 500,000 people in our prisons. Today, 2.3 million, a population of less than 5% worldwide, with 25% of the planet's incarceration. It's inexcusable, and it's unacceptable, and it is simply not sustainable. Put this as a perspective. In this state alone, in 1980, we had 25,000 people in the prison system. In 1980, we invested over 10% of our state's general fund in higher education, in the UC system, in the California State University system, which were the tentpole for the economy of the state, and for that matter, the economy of this nation. Consider where we are today. The last budget we just passed up in Sacramento, the prison budget has gone from 3% of general fund in 1980 to now 11.2%. Our population in 1980, as I said, was 25,000. It peaked last year at 165, and today it's roughly 147,000 people. It's a remarkable thing. The largest prison population of any state in this nation, the highest recidivism rates. 2/3 of folks that enter the prison system every single year are on probation and parole violations. And how many of those are drug-related? It's unsustainable. That 10% of the general fund that went into that tentpole of our economy, UC and CSU, has now dropped to 6.6%. 11.2 to prisons, 6.6 now to the CSU and UC system. I mean, at what point is this not code red? At what point do we just not drop everything else and say, what in the hell are we doing? I know this is not popular for politicians. I was just joking with Ethan. I said, I want to show you all the emails I got from my staff saying, what the hell are you doing down here? I have a very progressive staff. I mean, I come from San Francisco, right? But you know, advancing the rights for same-sex couples seems now in hindsight so easy compared to getting into debate around this failed drug policy. It really is. It's a remarkable thing. It's an absolutely extraordinary thing. Just think back a number of years ago where we were celebrating a president that said, you know what, racial disparity laws on crack cocaine, instead of 1,000 to 1, let's make it 100 to 1, and we applauded. And then we moved from 101 to 10, and now we finally begin to reconcile that roughly. But the fact that it takes so long to reconcile these things, to look at the impact of the African American community in the last 40 years and just sit here with bewilderment, what we have done to a generation of folks. At a time when we talk about income inequality, and talk about racial justice, and most of human rights, and here we are, one of the prime reasons we're failing is represented by your advocacy and your passion and your action. But we're so risk adverse in politics. We lack courage. And the courage usually comes after we're out of office or when we know we're done with our political careers. And I'll be honest, I suffer sometimes this as well. And I struggle with this every single day. You know, the being versus the doing in politics. You know, we work so hard to get someone elected, so we got them into office, and then we expect dramatic change, and sometimes they just run the 90-yard dash. And I reflect on that in closing, my time is up, on what's happened with this remarkable commitment that I so admire that has unbelievably been dropped on the issue of medicinal marijuana. I'm sitting here reliving what I was living as mayor 6 years ago with all of these raids in Fresno, down here in Southern California, up in my neck of the woods, Sacramento, where landlords are being threatened that they'll lose their buildings if they allow a lease with someone that's providing medical marijuana. It's an extraordinary thing. And you sit here again with bewilderment. And how can this happen? We did good things on crack cocaine disparity. We did some decent things so cities don't have to call for declarations of emergency like we used to in San Francisco every 2 weeks to allow the distribution of needles so we can reduce HIV and AIDS and hepatitis C. That's impressive. But we're dealing with these raids. Today, in 2011, in this great state. And it's wrong. And we need to step up and step into this debate. And this state needs to step up into this debate. We need stronger leadership and a louder voice and say we are not supportive of those raids, and we need to do more and we need to do better to create a framework of rationale, because that framework of fear is failing all of us. So I just want to long-windedly thank you for your leadership, for your stewardship, for your constancy, for your faith, for your devotion, for your willingness to stand up and step in when politicians are not, to give us a little bit more courage every single day to say what we're saying privately. And my gosh, if I could just tape record the private conversations, it would break your heart. It wouldn't just upset you, it would break your heart. Because we know better, we're just not doing better. So keep at us, keep fighting, and don't give up. I'm grateful for your leadership, and I thank Ethan for his, and I appreciate this conference and look forward to learning about what we need to do together to go farther and to become more fully expressive and to become more humane, compassionate, focus on health and not enforcement, focus on demand, not focus on supply, and become, again, the moral leaders that we know we're capable of becoming. Thank you all very, very much.